Following a reminder to meeting attendees that this is a formal meeting, I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. May I please ask everyone to mute their microphones when not speaking. Apologies for absent. We have apologies from Councillor Barrett, Councillor Knight, Councillor North and Councillor Skilton. Declarations of interest. To receive statutory declarations of interest from members in relation to disclosable pecuniary interest in any agenda item. If a member has declared a disclosable pecuniary interest, they must withdraw from the meeting during the consideration of the item to which the interest relates. If the member has been granted a dispensation by the council, they must still declare the interest, but may take part in the discussion and vote. Non-pecuniary interest, is there any pecuniary interest? Why do I know? Non-pecuniary interest in any agenda item. This is an interest which is not pecuniary as defined, but is nonetheless so significant that a member of the public with knowledge of the relevant facts would reasonably regard to be so significant that it would materially impact upon your judgment of the public interest. Upon identification, members can only take part in any vote. Any non-pecuniary interests of anyone? No? Okay. Okay, so before the chairman's announcements, there is an item on exempt which potentially we can bring into the meeting and make it into item 9B in relation to 9C, sorry, in relation to the banking.
We bring it into the open meeting.
It's the main open meeting. If we can have a vote on that, if anybody's got any objections, no, we'll vote for it. Okay, so that'll be item 9C then, in due course. Excellent. And okay, so chairman's announcements. Just seems quite a while ago, however, the Christmas switch on and the Remembrance Parade again were very successful. Thank you for the town council staff for coordinating and making it wonderful again this year, and also for the lights, our sponsors, Pele Solicitors and Surfing Caf.
Declare a non-pecuniary interest in that.
You didn't do? Yeah. So yeah, that was very good this last year even. Okay, so public open session. Do we have any members of the public online or here? Oh, here we have Grant, Councillor Fage.
Hello. Just two very quick things. The first was on item 10B, which is the town centre vision. So firstly, we discussed this at BJC, and you can see now that stuff that we discussed at BJC goes elsewhere for the most appropriate area to discuss it in more detail. I think the main message is laid out quite nicely, but I just want to stress that timelines are getting a bit squeezed now. If we want something done in this council term that has the buy-in of CBC, we probably want to crack on with some of that, and very happy to help with that in any way I can, whether that's through BJC or otherwise. So that's just something for you to consider in your discussions under item 10B. The other one briefly was 9B, which is committee renaming. Now, this makes me a little, not sad, but 9 years ago, I was co-opted to town council, along with you actually, Councillor Patel. We were both co-opted in April 2017. And honestly, over those years, I've held quite a few roles, including deputy chairman of TCM and chairman. And I have to say, the only councillors and forum that the town centre has really had to fight for it is this one. There isn't very much at CBC that will focus certainly not on Biggleswade, even across all of our town centres. And, you know, with the Chamber of Trade not being what it is, you know, I think it would be extremely sad to lose focus on the town centre. And I'm not saying that that's what's happened, but if the name were to change, I fear that over time that would be the drift. And I just wanted to suggest something to you, Chairman, actually. And I guess I've reflected on this a little bit more since I've become Chairman of Joint Committee, but I think there are a few things that you're doing perhaps on this committee that might overlap ever so slightly with BJC. And I wondered whether, you know, if you're going to be having strategic discussions, for example, you know, if you're doing that without central beds officers there or buy-in from other central beds councillors, I just wonder whether there's maybe a slightly better forum for that. And I wondered whether you would entertain a discussion, perhaps me and you offline, just focusing on, is it BJC or should it be TCM, and just getting those boundaries drawn before you go and change name. You know, if you end up deciding that's the right thing to do, then, you know, okay. But I wondered if we could perhaps maybe have that discussion first and go from there. So that was just a suggestion, but you'll consider that when you get to that item. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone online or any other members of the public? No? Okay. Invited speakers? None. Members' questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just really, if we can make sure that I guess the future of Big Eats is going to be on the agenda in future. I think it's proposed there's going to be some activity around that this year, but clearly there's been a change of leadership around that in terms of the you know, retailers, if you like, and the sellers. Just something I know the town really really values and appreciates, and just making sure we keep that on the agenda, really.
Yep, no, I totally agree. It's an asset to the town and it's getting bigger and bigger and more popular and draws huge crowds. However, I will hand over to.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just to provide a bit of updated information on that. This week, we're anticipating and expecting that the social media content and graphic visual content will arrive from the new lead for the external lead for the Big Eats. And as soon as that arrives, that will be put onto our own social media and website pages as well. And that will include the entire programme for the year going forward. So that's what we're waiting for.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions? No. And minutes and recommendations of meetings. For members to receive the minutes of the Town Centre Management Committee meeting held on 28th of October at the offices of Biggleswade Town Council, the Old Courthouse, Saffron Road, Biggleswade. So that'll be page 8 onwards. Page 8, so it's page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, and page 14. This is page 16, page 19. Thank you. So, and yeah. Items for consider. No, we've got matters. That's it. Matters arising from page 8.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Have we approved these minutes?
Sorry. Minutes approved. Yep. All those in favour, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Strawn. Does it matter? Yeah, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, and page 14. Oh, sorry, Councillor Woodhead.
It's just really to I guess to give a fill in a gap on page 14 with 10F, with the National Rail Improvement Works, it was saying that members resolved for the clerk to seek confirmation. Well, the bridge and lift is now open, and I was delighted to help open that with Richard Fuller and other colleagues from the Biggleswade Rail Access Group. So that's it's been nice to actually see a project that's taken a long time come to fruition and, you know, be beneficial to the residents and also to town businesses as well. So
yeah. Okay, so vote on these. All in favour? Yep. Okay, so yeah. We've got items for consideration. 9A, twinning update. For members to receive and consider a written report from the Community Development Manager. Over to you.
Sorry. Perhaps I can just add to that, just to repeat the report recommendations, which are that members consider the report, enable officers to share the twinning values and to deliver the 3 actions all set out in the report, and to nominate members to sit on a BTC twinning working group for onward town council meeting resolution. So that'll be a vote essentially to nominate and agree on members to sit on that working group in due course.
If I may, I've got no strong aversion to this. Let me put it that. So it sounds quite negative, but I'm broadly supportive. I think I don't think there's particularly any negatives that come with this. So there's no direct cost implication. I think what it does allow us to do is by linking us to 2 other towns, it allows us to bring more visitors to the town, perhaps. And I think there's no additional cost to the town, and there's additional publicity, etc. I think it can't be bad. I think the only thing is let's try and keep it to this now, so that we're not extending it beyond it, because this is essentially came as a result of an invitation, and we've sort of followed it through. So it's good to do, but I think any future invitations I think need to be discussed by the council before we invest any further officer time in it, if that's okay. But for me, the recommendations, I support the recommendations, so I'd make a proposal that we approve the recommendations as laid out.
Okay, anyone second? Oh, Councillor Woodhead. Councillor Strawn?
Yes, nominate members to sit on a BTC twinning working group. Might I suggest that possibly it would be better for the members to actually be put to full council, because if the proposer would accept and that the nomination members be referred to the full council for their consideration.
I think that's an entirely suitable amendment, Councillor Strawn. So might I make a proposal that we accept the amendment of Councillor Strawn, so that we're is that protocol, Councillor Strawn? We have to vote on your proposed amendment if I accept it. I accept the proposed amendment.
And secondary.
I think that's correct.
Right. Yeah. So we're voting on the amendment then, yes, right.
Okay, voting on the amendment. So all those in favour? Against? No, that's it. Thank you.
So we're now got to vote on the recommendation.
On the recommendation, so
on the substantive motion, correct?
Which was, yeah. All those in favour? Yeah. Everyone. So now we're in 9B, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so is it 9B? So so now the TCM committee renaming. So we've heard from Grant earlier. And I mean, it may be beneficial to discuss this with Grant. It may be fruitful. However, I'll put it to the floor. What's everyone else's views if we were to defer this item? Councillor Strawn.
I think Councillor Fage's observations were actually very apposite in terms that we mustn't lose sight of the town centre. But equally, I think the committee was looking at renaming because we now have a much larger town than when the committee was created and named originally. And we were trying to make it inclusive for the whole town, but equally, we don't want to lose sight of the town centre. And it then comes back to actually considering what the remit and the aims of this committee are, and the basically are the terms that the reference to the committee as to what it actually does consider. So it might be something that we should be considering what this committee actually does consider before we rename it, in the sense that yes, the town centre is a key and we want to make sure the town centre is vibrant, but we want to make the new estates feel a bit more inclusive into the town, which is, I think, the reason we were looking at renaming it, to give that feel. But I think Councillor Fage's comments were something that we merit greater consideration than possibly we had been looking before, because we were conscious of what we were trying to achieve. But I think there is merit in actually having some reference, so that primarily we do look at the town centre, but it's actually how the rest of the town develops, because we've got industrial estates, new residential developments with little pockets of commercial activity, retail activity there, and we've got to support the whole town. So it's trying to get that balance.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Councillor Foster.
I agree entirely. I think renaming one committee when we're not clear on its terms of reference, and given that it may change, and I think actually as part of this process we should be really looking at terms of reference for all of the committees, so that and it quite clearly mentions in the report where there are overlaps. So if there are areas of overlap, why we're looking to redefine the name of this committee to one thing when we haven't established what its terms of reference are. So it's a little frustrating, I think, for officers, because of the work that we've done already. We've done this a few times. This has come back to this committee because we didn't at that point say we don't want to do it at this point. What we said was bring back some suggestions. So to be fair, the officers have done what we've asked us to do, and we're now going, oh well, we're not really sure whether that's the right thing to do. So, and I appreciate for officers, here we go again. But I think it's probably the right thing to do, to be very clear on what not just this committee's terms of reference are and its purpose, that we try and align all of the other committees. Now, whether that's I hesitate to say a working group to redefine what the terms of reference for all the committees, given that we've got a working group to look at standing orders and other. I think it's probably important for it to go to council to consider what we do here, rather than us renaming one. And we do need to focus on the town centre element. When I have to say, when I saw the suggestions, the town management and development, I felt that perhaps, whilst it's referred to and the explanations in the report, there's a danger that having development on there might give some sort of suggestion that we have control over the planning and development, and it's part of it, and we have some a method of feedback, but this committee doesn't actually consider planning applications. So it's I think just being careful what we want it to do. So I'd hesitate to rename it at this point.
Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you. It's pulling out a couple of threads from Councillor Foster and Councillor Strawn, really. As a previous chair of this committee, I think having a focus on the town centre is really, really important. We obviously have a Chamber of Trade that sort of pretty much defunct now, and I think this is the main forum, or has been a main forum, for town centre issues within the town. So I think we need to keep that, and let's also not forget a lot of the events work that this town council does is primarily done in the town centre as well. So there's a synergy between all of that. So we need to not lose sight of it. But also, I think Councillor Strawn rightly points out there is a lot more business development and commercial development, hence I guess the development part of the title, although it's maybe not clear straight away, that we want to find out about and be more interested in. I mean, I've visited a couple of the businesses on the business park recently, and the range of things that are going on in the town within the parish, if you like, is phenomenal. So we need to capture that too. So it is a difficult one, but certainly with the town centre element, that is the bit we have more control over, in the sense of town council expenditure, town council remit, and looking after things, and perhaps less so in the others. But that's not to say they're not important. So I'm in a bit of a quandary myself at the moment, but there's a lot to consider.
Okay, thank you, councillor Strawn, and then we can.
If I may
decide.
come back, Chairman, looking at the final sentence of the officers' report before it comes to their recommendation, it seems that the officers would need to draft a fresh scheme of delegation for all committees, capturing any areas of delegated overlap between committees, which is where councillor Foster was coming in. So in that respect, I think officers have done a tremendous job so far in having got us to this stage, but they've actually highlighted something that will need to be done. And with a new town clerk coming into place, that I think would need to be done under that new town clerk's guidance, because they will inevitably have some input. So might I make a proposal that we recommend to the town council that we ask officers to consider the scheme of delegation for all committees with a view to considering a renaming of this committee, taking into account that scheme of delegation.
We second that proposal? Oh.
Happy to second. What just struck me that we, and just before I agree, by the way, but we've also got town centre and management might also fit within a, so adding and rather than that could cover. So it's got the management element and town centre in there, but let's not do that now. But I'm just thinking that could be. We're not doing that now. But it's just another thing that's. So I second councillor Strawn's proposal, essentially.
Okay.
Thanks. Sorry, just jumping in. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So excellent suggestions, obviously, to defer. What should have been clearer in here, and apologies that it isn't, is that actually we're up to review our scheme of delegations anyway, in any regard. So it being amongst the top 3 or 4, in fact, if you like, highest priority documents. So yeah, the plan would have been essentially to kind of walk through this as we have to tonight, and I think the proposal is to defer so far, which is fine. I think what it does mean though is how we're going to address the scheme of delegations review, whether it can wait for another 3 months essentially into the new council, or if it needs to be done before. If things aren't changing in terms of the TCM naming, I think it's possible that we could kind of delay a bit further in terms of review it just immediately after the next council. But it's on a cusp essentially in terms of the timelines, that's all.
Councillor Strawn?
Yes, if I may make an observation, I think I understand where Mr. Hussaini is coming from, but I think the danger is we put the cart before the horse if we rename it before we've actually worked out the new scheme of the delegation, because we then got to work out how to get the horse back before the cart.
Okay, so sorry, councillor Strawn, if you could just repeat your proposal, and then we could have a vote on that.
This council recommends that the town council be asked to consider a scheme of delegation for all committees, so that the council can then review and the committees can review respective names to actively identify their roles.
Yep. Thank you.
I think that's roughly what they was.
Yep. And second that, is that councillor Foster, yeah? Second, okay, if we could have a... Okay, all those in favour? Unanimous, excellent. Sorry. So the item regarding the banking hub update report, over to you. Yeah.
Not great deals with six. To what's written here, we're exploring new models, the extended post office example. Recommendations to arrange a banking hub working group meeting with the Ampthill and Sandy councils. So both Ampthill's really got one, Sandy I think is on the road. And following outputs from the next banking hub working group, put reports to the next town council meeting for consideration and resolution.
And yep.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just to add, I think officers have had early discussions with both Ampthill Council and Sandy Council, and it looks like there's going to be 2 sets of meetings, not one single meeting combined for all 3 towns, to be confirmed, and exactly when those are going to be, potentially.
Recommendations. So take it is the working group to now next town council meeting. Okay. Fine. So we vote. So councillor Strawn.
I think with this merits a little bit more discussion, Mr. Chairman, because I've noticed the comments made by Lloyds as to their reasons for closure. And I think that some of their arguments are slightly defective because they're saying you can get cash out of an ATM. I'd like to know how you get pounds and 10 pence pieces and 5 pence pieces, and even the extinct 1 pence piece out of a cash machine. I think it's overly simplistic, and the way that the banking services are being withdrawn and expected to be going online, it is actually prejudicing a great part of the community. 10% is a large proportion of the community. In this town, it's going to be over 2,000 people that would be affected by this. So I think some of the banking arguments being put forward are spurious in terms that they're trying to justify not providing a banking service. And I think we had a very helpful discussion with one of the local postmasters as to what could be done. So I think that we've got a duty to the people of the town, and particularly those who are more disadvantaged, who do not have the flexibility, they may not have smartphones and to be able to do things on apps. And even with checks, I think there are limits on how much check can be actually put through an app through to the banking. And one can't necessarily rely on the Royal Mail to deliver checks or any post reliably and within time. So it's all very well putting a check in the post, but that excuse has been used by lots of people over the years for lots of reasons. But when you've got a business and you're putting checks in the post, you want them delivered. Now, if we've got a banking hub which will actually do that service, it will give greater security for everybody. The town is growing. We've got many new businesses coming to town, and they will all need at some stage banking. Also, I think the public want to deal with people on a face-to-face basis. I find it going to the nationwide. You see people regularly preferring to use in somebody face-to-face, not sticking their card in a wall where they can get mugged. So I think we've got to push forward. But yes, I support the recommendations. And I think that we should go ahead on that basis. But I think we should be prepared to fight, because at the moment I get the feeling that the banks are trying to bully the population as a whole, not just Biggleswade.
Thank you. Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you. I mean, I was at the Banking Hub Working Group meeting with Councillor Strawn and some others, and the conversation with the postmaster of Bonds Lane post office, because there are 2 post offices obviously within the town, was very helpful. And you know, I think we all learned quite a bit, some of which is reflected in the paper here. And there's obviously different models around a banking hub sort of separately, and then also a model of what they call, what's listed in here, an enhanced post office, which has the banking facilities within the post office, which is a slightly different approach again. Which, you know, was explained to us. So I think that's worth kind of unpacking, but we obviously need to do that with or in conjunction with the post office themselves, either corporately or on a local level. I mean, Councillor Strawn sort of touched upon a point about the sort of vulnerability of users. It's obviously not just elderly people, but it can be people with special needs, things like that as well, who have difficulty using some of these kind of things as well. So there's a much bigger range of population impacted than I think people might think originally. But also the fact that people see Biggleswade as a kind of hub, almost, you know, to coin a phrase. We've got lots of villages around the place, even other neighbouring towns. It's not just Sandy, it's Shefford, it's other places that don't have banking facilities. And I think all of this can go into making a stronger case as to why Biggleswade could either have a banking hub or an enhanced post office with banking facilities, depending on what is the right commercial, you know, sort of outcome from that. So I think we can put a strong case together. I think Leighton Buzzard recently has just been awarded a banking hub through the cash access scheme. So it is something that's going on, and they have a nationwide still within Leighton Buzzard. So I think there are different models and things we can look at. So I'm keen to support this. I'm not going to be tied to whether it's a banking hub or another model, but I think we need to look at some way of supporting banking provision and enhancing banking provision within the town as best we can.
Thank you. Councillor Alwyn.
Yeah, I think it's particularly important to talk to Sandy about this, and I welcome the forthcoming meetings with those, because it's a very close town. They have attempted to get a banking hub, I understand, there, and have been turned down. So it may be that a joint bid would be more successful. But yeah, very, very important to get Sandy and perhaps other local towns involved.
So in relation to the recommendations, we're voting on them as they are.
So do we need a proposal? So do we need a proposal?
Yes, please.
So I'll make the proposals then that the recommendation would propose the recommendations as laid out then.
Thank you. Second. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you.
Yeah, I've taken it as read, but I also wanted to just, I guess, reflect and give officers some thanks for persisting with this, because I know when I was chair of TCM, I think we tried to start the ball rolling on this process. It's been a little while to get things going with the landlord, with other groups, and I think it's now starting to look a lot smarter and a lot nicer kind of entryway into town, really. So I just wanted to, I think it's if the committee can offer our thanks to officers for trying to get that moving, and also to reflect the heritage of the town as well in that process. I think it's been a really good thing to do.
Great work. So, go ahead.
Kerem and I took a walk through Abbott's Walk on the way back this evening at twilight, and it does look enormously improved on what it was. So quite sort of admiring the work that has been done and the great improvements. Came back to find an email saying that the bins are on their way and will be delivered in the next couple of days.
Good. It's all coming together then, eh? That's good. Excellent. 10B, Town Centre Vision, taken as read. Councillor Strawn.
I think we ought to note Councillor Fage's comments about timescale, because it's not just this council that's got to make it work, it's Central Beds. And what we don't want to do is to have it hanging over into a new council, either of this council or Central Beds Council. So perhaps officers could look to make sure that we've got a timescale that will fit in with Central Beds, and if necessary liaise with Central Beds officers to make sure that whatever we do can be achieved by both councils within the current terms of the current councils.
Thank you. 10C, Community Safety Report. Taken as read. Councillor Strawn.
Sorry, I'm not trying to hog the limelight, but we've had these crime statistics in the past. I'm just wondering whether there's a way that we can get an easier comparison in terms of the layout, such as month on month, or perhaps just as a town as a whole, to see whether there's particular months and years that are worse than others, because I think we have had, periodically we've had statistics provided to us by the police and also by the community safety group, and the layout has changed periodically, but we've quite often had year on year comparisons or month on month comparisons. So I think the officers are having to pull this together themselves rather than anything else, but I think it might be quite useful to actually have an understanding whether crime is increasing or decreasing over a period of time, or whether there's particular occasions such as, say, the Christmas or the summer, if there's a sporting event, where particular problems are higher than other times.
Thank you. Councillor Woodhead.
Just an observation, really. I know there's been aspects of graffiti through the town, and I think a few of us just anecdotally noticed it increased during the February half-term break that's just gone. So there's obviously there may be some pattern around the school holidays, particularly as Councillor Strawn alluded to. So I think some of that information would be, I mean, in a sense, some of it's kind of obvious, but you need the information to back that up. I'm also aware that I think we have one of our police officers coming to the next town council meeting as well, so we can continue that conversation on an operational policing level then as well. But I think having the data and stats is always quite helpful.
Okay. Yes, just wanted to quickly report on this. This is data which has been put together from the crime stats that were sent monthly by Helen, who's producing a 3-monthly report, quarterly report. The graphs do actually go across 12 pages. It doesn't make it easy to read leasable when it's sort of collated in this form. I took it apart and spread it all over the desks in the training room, and you can then move them around, and then you can compare ward by ward, all Biggleswade results, month by month or whatever. And I think a bit more colour coding, I colour coded it myself, but something like that might make some things clearer. I think the lessons overall is that nothing much changes.
Can we thank officers for their reports and efforts in actually collating all this information for us?
Yes. Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks, Mr. Chairman. So, just to add to what Ian said, and actually picking up from members' input just now as well, it's not the easiest of things to report on graffiti, for example, in various places across town, because that kind of information doesn't easily feed through. We can do it anecdotally on what we observe, because the public realm team is out there every day, and what they see. So we can add that in as a sort of flavour, and also in terms of what treatment can be applied to it as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again. Item 10D, event calendar, for members to note a written report from the Deputy Administration and HR Manager. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that we've got a sort of clear plan of events. There's looks like some really good events here that are both planned, but also sort of that are coming in the future. Certainly more events than we've had previously, and I think we're trying a few different things, which is always positive. I think that, and this is part of the thing that this committee needs to look at. So in line with the sort of in terms of reference. So I think, yeah, just summarise. It's good to see the calendar. Good to see what's coming up. I know some of these items we perhaps haven't considered at this committee in a huge amount of detail. That's not to say that all of them should be discussed. Some of these are going to be operational decisions anyway. So, but it's good to see that we've got more events coming.
Definitely. Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you. No, I think it's great to see a comprehensive list, and I'm aware that a number of these are obviously not necessarily Biggleswade Town Council events, but are adjacent events that we can work alongside or take advantage of, because they're things that are happening in the immediate proximity, which is great. So it's always good to see the list, and I think linking back to some of the earlier points we were discussing about the name change, this is exactly the kind of thing that town centre management and TCM can have some strong input into and reflect obviously local interests and concerns, really.
Thank you. Councillor Strawn?
I think it's great that we're getting so many events, but I know some various things still need to be confirmed. And it would be nice if officers could update councillors generally in, say, the weekly report as things happen, because say there's reference to Biggleswade Carnival, etc., but no dates there. So when some of these things actually do get confirmed, perhaps we could have an update rather than waiting for this committee to actually see them, so that we know what's going on, because then we can help organise a calendar, and hopefully our events calendar on our town centre website will actually be able to be updated. But I think it'd be very helpful for members to at least have an update, whether it be by effectively the weekly report or at a council meeting, just to know what's happening in between these committee meetings.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk. Yeah.
Thanks. Just briefly, thanks. So, yeah, absolutely. The intention is to provide a 12-month rolling programme of events, which are either council-driven, partnership-driven, third-party-driven, which we're aware of. The idea is almost being what used to be called a what's on in London or whatever kind of thing for the town, that when a visitor arrives to town, they can look at our website and say, oh, right, they're interested, these sorts of things are happening. The caveat on all of that, of course, is that we have some events which are obviously funded within the existing budget of the council, and a lot of these are not, and therefore the caveat being that they're subject to sourcing sponsorship or other forms of payment, essentially, so that we can actually build some of these things in as and where we go. So a lot of these are still not confirmed or TBC, etc., for that reason as well.
Thank you. Councillor Strawn.
Come back in view of those last comments. I note that we've got Easter Party in the Park, which is not confirmed with regard to sponsorship. Is that reliant on sponsorship? Because we're getting quite close to Easter now. It's frightening how quickly the year passes.
Thank you. My understanding that one's okay, that one's covered, but there are some others here which aren't. For example, things like Oktoberfest, which are not yet. So we'll see how we go. And obviously we're endeavouring to get sponsorship from a range of businesses to make these things happen. But yeah, and those things would primarily cover things like security under Martin's Law, which is coming soon, and overtime payments, which would be required for certain things.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 10E, proposed temporary speed restrictions, Langford Road, Biggleswade. For members to receive information from Central Beds Council Street Works team regarding temporary speed restrictions. Councillor Foster.
These don't normally come to TCM, so I'm not quite sure why they come. I appreciate that it's there's a 23rd of February, so it's already it's not essentially not a huge amount of advance notification, given it's already started. So I sort of wonder why it's come to this committee. If it should have come anywhere, it should have been to council earlier. So I think what we do is note it, and I'll leave it at that, to be honest.
Thank you. Item 10F, Biggleswade Business Forum, for members to note a written report from the Community Development Manager.
Thank you. The main points are made in the report. We've got the summary of the items we'd like to include on the agenda for the day. We'd like to be able to live stream with our partner towns, Bally and Rozzy and France and L&Z. Again, it's sort of no cost, but giving us a dialogue and an exchange with those partner struts. Recommendation is members note to the report enable officers to contact businesses and organisations to source participation and keynote speakers. Got the date of the 28th of August, dictated by sort of alignment of the stars. We managed to get a room at the Orchard Centre and also the availability of the MP.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Foster.
Good to see the event. Good to see that's planned. Appreciate the alignment of the stars. That's good news as well. My only, I guess, feedback. Appreciate it's August, so and it's a challenge in August with sort of summer holidays, etc. But I appreciate trying to get events aligned and people and getting the MP there. I think it's quite important if we can get Richard there. It's helpful. So. I wasn't in any way being negative about that. I think it seems like there's a good subject, good agenda, and seems to be a positive thing as well. So unless anyone's got any other comments, Councillor Strong.
I think it's great to see it's been arranged again. I had reservations because it's immediately before the August bank holiday and it's in the school holidays. But if that's the availability, we need to get that out there sooner rather than later to businesses. And in that respect, if it's possible to make sure that we contact the businesses locally, even if they've got a national headquarters, so that it actually gets into the local people, because I fear that if it goes up to Manchester or London or somewhere, they'll say, where the hell's Biggleswade, and leave it at that, and rather than actually asking the Biggleswade people to make themselves enabled. But the sooner we can get that out, and so I think support the recommendations that the officers go ahead, but I think it's important that we actually get people noting it and it's followed through, because there's a lot of work to be done by officers. So thank you for the effort so far, and may it continue and be a very successful event as the past ones have been.
Thank you, Councillor Woodhead.
Yeah, just very finally, I mean, it's I think this would be the third iteration of the business forum, and I think the previous two, have sort of improved as we've gone along. So I think it's great where the council is looking at planning now and obviously looking ahead, and there's no reason to see why at the end of August shouldn't be helpful if people have had advance warning of the event as well as best they can. So and there's certainly a good range of organisations and businesses on there, and I dare say that can probably be grown before August as well. So yeah, all good, and hopefully it'll be a good conversation when it comes.
Public open session. To adjourn for a period of 15 minutes to allow members of the public to put questions or to address the council through the chairman in respect of any other business of the town council. Is there anybody? Oh, Grant.
Yeah, hello again. Yeah, just quickly. So just to reiterate, Abbott's Walk is looking much better. And I actually just sort of crossed my mind after I listened to the discussion on how strategic we are with things. Actually, I think this committee has been at its best in the past when it's rolled up its sleeves and just got stuff done in the town centre. And that Abbott's Walk is a great example. Same with the signage from the railway station, getting people into town. Same with some of the planters. We did great stuff with the market. I know Councillor Woodhead did some great things with events as well. So anyway, you want to have the conversation with where some of the more strategic stuff fits in with joint committee, then absolutely happy to have that conversation. My personal view is some of the best things you've done tonight, probably over the banking hub, for example. It's really focused on the town centre, because you're the only ones who are going to champion it that way at an elected level. So there we go. Thanks.
Thank you. And okay, I think that's anybody else? No. So that's, there we go. So moving into the exempt session for use by the chair. I move that in accordance with the pursuant to section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960. The press and public be excluded from the following items on the grounds of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. But we take a vote. Yep. Moving to exempt. Members have voted that this meeting now be closed so that we can move into an exempt session in accordance with or pursuant to section 1(2) of the Public Bodies Admissions to Meetings Act 1960. The press and public be excluded from the following item on the grounds of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted. And we close the open session.